right, welcome back, and I welcome you two back. Josh and Shannon, guys, are going to go in the trenches. You know how this one works. Give you a couple of head-to-head matchups. You give me who the winner, or the predicted winner, you think will come out on top. The first one, George Selvey, that animal on defense for South Florida, against Rob Spence's SU play calling. Who you got coming out on top?
You mentioned that he's an animal. George Selvey is ridiculously good on the defensive side of the ball. You look at his career statistics, he's tied for the NCAA active lead in sacks. He's got 27.5 on his career. This guy can break through the offensive line. He's really hard to defend. And in the past, he didn't have anyone to help him out on that defensive line. But this year, he's got Jason Pierre-Paul as the other end. And Selvey says with Pierre-Paul out there, you can't just double team Selvey anymore. He's too much to handle. So I think because George Selvey has a lot of help out there, I can't see Syracuse stopping him.
You know, Shannon, you're right that he's a beast. There's no denying that. It's obvious. But I don't think he's going to have that big of a game because of Rob Spence's play calling. His offense naturally runs in a way where it eliminates explosive pass rushers. He calls a lot of screens, a lot of draws. Against Northwestern, you saw end around, double end around, fake end around, everything. And when the ball's going from sideline to sideline, it makes defensive ends come back on their heels. They can't rush the passer. They have to watch where the ball's going. And if you look at it in the Northwestern game, Corey Wooten, only 1 sack. He's another explosive pass rusher. I don't think Selvey's going to have a very big game.
That's true. The coaching staff does have a lot to do with that, but South Florida's got coaches too. I mean, they can plan around this. I think just because George Selvey has such an impact on a game, regardless of whether it's felt in the stat sheet, I think he still wins this matchup.
All right, guys, now going back to more of a game-wide overview. South Florida, and this whole concept of a trap game, I think we can all agree that the Bulls are coming in here the heavy favorite. So do you think the game will sneak up on the Bulls, or do you think South Florida will prevail?
Well, when you look at the schedule, it definitely looks like a trap game, but I think USF's going to win this, and it's not going to be that close. USF has never lost to Syracuse. The Orange have never, ever beaten USF, whether it's home, away. It doesn't matter. They lose. Last year, they got just blasted in South Florida. Offense put up over 40 points against the Orange. And most of the players on this team, they remember that. They're not forgetting about that game. They're going to come in, they're going to be tentative, and I think they're going to be a little scared.
They are. South Florida's going to remember that they won, though, also, and that's something that could be dangerous for this team. Because South Florida last week had the biggest win in program history against Florida State. When they line up on Saturday and they see across from them Syracuse on that jersey, that's not something that's going to get them as pumped up as Florida State or Miami. And so they might not overlook SU, but they're not going to be as psyched for the game. And frankly, this is a largely different Syracuse team than South Florida's ever had to contend with.
Yeah, but a quiet confidence can be a very dangerous thing for a team.
Speaking of largely different team, we're going to talk about Greg Paulus, the new quarterback for the Orange. Well, I guess now he's pretty much a mainstay. So he's been like Jekyll and Hyde through the first 4 weeks. First 2 weeks struggled. Last 2 weeks has been pretty hot. So are we going to see the Greg Paulus from the first 2 weeks where he threw that interception against Minnesota in the clutch, or are we going to see the one who's been lighting it up lately?
You're going to see the guy that's been lighting it up. And it's not that he's got two sides that one comes out on a given day. It was that he hadn't played football in 4 years. We were expecting a lot from him as it is. I think Greg Paulus has come into his own. He's matured as a football player, and he's sort of shook off that basketball sense that maybe when he's scrambling around, he's got to make something happen. He can throw it away, and that's something that he failed to do in the first week, but he's really come into his own as a football player for Syracuse.
I got to agree with you, Shannon. Greg Paulus is going to play really well, and what you have to remember is he's on the fastest learning curve in college football. There's a difference between mental maturity and football maturity. He already had the mental maturity. Football maturity has developed over 4 games. It's that fast. He's going to be really great. Don't expect him to make stupid mistakes anymore.
Yeah, with that football maturity, a lot of it is decision making.
So good